the Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings. 2022 AFC win totals, the AFC West, the AFC South, which we are relegating to the very back end, so we can spend 4 minutes on that. It's one of the primetime shows. We got Chargers talk. We got a Cust Corner Mini. You smash the like, okay, pals? Just like you should subscribe to Mayo Media Network on YouTube. Play in the Pat Mayo Experience DraftKings Listeners League for Week 1. And all 18 weeks, realistically, but mainly Week 1. That link is now available down in the description. You want to run props. You want to run daily fantasy. It is so easy to do at runthesims.com. All you need to do is go to runthesims.com/Mayo, get yourself a discount, and customize the tools. I mean, you can use the generic tools or customize them any way you want to run 10,000 simulations of the slate. That's how the people are winning. They're running simulations. You can use them too at runthesims.com. Highly recommend it. I will have every slate in there for you, plus the props tool. It's all tools. No one's going to be selling you content. You can just adjust whatever you want. runthesims.com/Mayo. The giveaways are in full effect. They'll be coming out in Week 2, but you best get yourself in there now. So subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Get yourself into the draw. It's going to send people cash starting in Week 2. There'll be $1,000 up for grabs after Week 1, so if you do it right now, you have the best chance to win, so you don't forget. All right? If you missed any of the other shows, hit the description. They're all down there right now. They're on the pod feed. They're on the network. You know that already. Geoff, Fienberg, you've been waiting for this. We've pushed it all the way to the end for you. Is he talking, or is my earpiece broken?
It's a podcast. You have to actually, say something.
The division is hard. The division is excellent. I am excited to live everything I've ever wanted, or it'll just be everything I've ever known, which is heartbreak. But yeah, the division is wild. So let's get into it. I have no fears.
Well, we couldn't do it without the third member of the team, but he's on vacation right now. So we have a fill-in coin live from Fiji, a 50-cent piece that has the queen and some sort of, I guess it's a sailboat that's on it. It's very dramatic. It looks like the sail's upside down on it, to tell you the truth. But I'm not Mr. Nautical over here, so I don't really know. And then on the line right now is Tim Andicus.
Tim Andicus.
Not my name. I mean, I am a natural angler, but not so much a natural sailor.
You're the natural angler who's afraid to take fish off the hook?
Correct.
Sounds about right. All right, let's get into Denver Tap. First up, they got a brand new quarterback. Their win total's at 10, minus 145 to make the playoffs, minus 145 to make the playoffs, plus 260 to win the division, plus 850 to win the conference, 18-1 to win the Super Bowl. All these lines brought to you by DraftKingsSportsbook.com. By the way, I'll go out and hit it right away, Geoff. I like the over on Denver. I picked Russell Wilson to win MVP. If they don't hit this over, then Russell Wilson's not winning MVP. So got to keep it somewhat consistent as we try to make some decent picks on the show. We'll see how that works out. But just put him on this team from last year. I feel like they're a huge improvement from their 0 that they had at quarterback play. They come into the season much healthier than a year ago. It almost felt like towards the second half of last season, they just started tanking, knowing like, hey, this isn't our year. We'll regroup in the offseason. Let's make sure our defensive studs, or our wide receiver, at least who we hope are our wide receiver studs, are going to be healthy for this moment. If we can get Aaron Rodgers, that didn't work. They got Russell Wilson instead. I just think it's a huge boost. When you can dramatically upgrade the quarterback position, even in a tough division, this much, it's just a huge boost to your win total. So I really like the Broncos this year.
I'm going to pick the over as well, and I don't know. In some ways, you almost feel like you could protect yourself and pick them all these teams over, and you might hit 3 of them. Really hard finding a weakness on the Broncos, Pat. Like, the weakness of the Broncos is the variable of the newness of the Broncos. Russell Wilson, new head coach, for how great the defense continued to be and stymie really good quarterbacks. Can we maybe say there could be a regression there because, a loss of Nick Fangio in that specific aspect? Yeah, it's possible. But where's the weakness? The offensive line may be getting a little too much credit than it deserves. I think they're all coming back pretty much, and they gave up way more sacks than people want to acknowledge. If you think Russell's done running for his life, probably not the case. But I mean, it's cliche. Stafford won the Super Bowl. Brady won the Super Bowl. Even a well inferior quarterback at the time, like Phillip Rivers, went from the Chargers to the Colts, and they did exactly what the Colts do without missing a beat. These veteran quarterbacks change teams, and the teams don't really seem to miss a beat. I don't think Russell Wilson's gonna be the variable in this that changes that. So over.
Yeah, and even like with Hackett coming in place of Fangio, it's not like Denver's defense was good last year. They were bottom half of the league, so that actually is a spot where they could potentially improve. And all they really did with a lot of their rookies, both in the draft and with undrafted free agents, they just loaded up on their backups on defense. It did feel like they were really thin once they started losing guys at every position. No one could really come and step up. Yeah, they've already lost Tim Patrick. That's not good for the receiving core, but as long as Judy and Sutton are healthy, they have a two-headed backfield with that awful Melvin Gordon, but Javonte Williams is back there. It just feels like Russell Wilson is the perfect piece for this offense to potentially move it forward. Maybe Russell Wilson's cooked. Maybe he's not going to cook. Maybe he is cooked, and this team is vastly overrated. But I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Denver, Tim.
Yeah. I guess I'm the least bullish on this team of the three of us. And I think it's the team in the AFC West I'm least confident in. And it's because I am concerned that Russell Wilson is
corny?
No, like his mobility isn't quite what it needs to be.
What does his mobility need to be? Like,
it needs to be decent. Geoff described that offensive line is far from the best in the NFL. He is going to have to be, on the run a lot in a division where he is going to be facing a lot of good pass rushers.
4 or 5 starters.
Obviously, he's a huge upgrade from what they had. Like, let's not pretend like that's not true. But at the same time, I just, I don't know. I don't trust those two running backs. I don't think they're that great, actually. I mean, one of them is absolutely abhorrent. And, the defense was not even great last year. I don't see any reason to be super optimistic about it this year. I've got to pick 2 overs and 2 unders probably in this division. That's the way I'm going to run it. I'm going to play one of my unders here. I mean, I think it's likelier that the Broncos finish last than first in the division. I'm not super enthused about Sutton, who missed a ton of time, and Judy, who I think is a really, really great receiver. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. There's just, if this team were in any other division, I'd feel a lot better about them. But they're in the group of death. If we were talking about the World Cup, this would be the group of death, and I don't have a ton of optimism for them given their schedule. Giving a new quarterback here who I think is just diminished. I mean, it still is Russell Wilson, but it's not really. It's not Russell Wilson as he was.
Yeah, but hold on.
Stafford and Brady going right away to win Super Bowls were different types of quarterbacks than Russell Wilson was when Russell Wilson was at his best, right? They represent different styles of football. That's pretty indisputable. So what will we see from Russell Wilson? I think closer to 2021 than 2020, which is still a big improvement from what they had at Denver last year and would have been maybe good enough to get to the playoffs. But I don't know. I remain a little bit skeptical. Call me skeptical. I'm going to take the under on Denver here.
I think that's completely unfair to say that Russell Wilson is going to look more like the guy from last year than he did from 2 years ago, considering the guy broke his thumb, was supposed to be out for 2 months and decided to drink, I don't know, his concussion water, wherever the hell that is. He was just back in 3 weeks. He couldn't throw the ball. He was horrible last year because he rushed back from an injury on his throwing hand. If that's not the case, he was playing okay before that. If they get the first half of the season, Russell Wilson, who wasn't an MVP candidate by any stretch of the imagination,
no,
but the guy at the second half of the year was awful, that I would take the guy at the beginning of the year as a huge upgrade. The guy at the second half of the year, I think that's what's sticking out in people's minds right now, or maybe some people are focusing on that and not what he had played the previous, I don't know, 24 games. They're just focusing on what he did the final 6 games of last year. And
There's a lack of mobility too that concerns me.
What do you mean? There's a lack of mobility? What does that mean? It's not like
running. He's not running.
Yeah, but he was never a running quarterback. It's not like he's Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray. Russell Wilson always ran like Aaron Rodgers ran. If he needed to get a first down, he could get a first down. He could extend a play or two. I don't think that's changed.
I think it has. I think it's slowing down. I mean, look, I have to split hairs here between these 4 really good teams. And because of the nature of where they play and who they play, they can't all have really good records. And I think Denver is one of the teams that has to suffer. And that's the way I'm going on this. I think they have a ton of question marks.
Oh, Josh Gordon just got released in real time as we're recording this. So it's over for Geoff and I, and the coin under for you, Tim.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the Chiefs. The Chefs of Kansas City, their win total is only 10.5, interestingly enough. Obviously, they've lost some pieces, primarily Tyreek Hill. They're minus 210 to make the playoffs, plus 175 to win the division, plus 550 to win the conference, 10-1 to win the Super Bowl. Tim, we'll start with you after me on this one. This just feels too low across the board for all of the stuff.
Yeah, they furnished an offensive line for Patrick Mahomes. They turned in draft picks and they used money to develop him an offensive line. That's all I need. That's all I needed to hear. Give me the Chiefs in the over. They're going to be excellent. They're not going to miss a beat. Why would they? They can piece together Tyreek Hill stats. They still have Kelsey. Then most importantly, they have Mahomes. When you have Mahomes and he's healthy, he should win the division every time. He just should. He's that good. He's just better than your best. No matter what your best is or who your best is, he's better than your best. And the team is still exceptionally talented. They're still marvelously coached. Yes, the schedule is harder. Yes, this is not the pushover that the division has been sort of the last few years. It's a tougher test. It's the test they should pass. I like the over, and I like them to win the division. No surprises.
One of the benefits that the AFC West, as I'm sure you're familiar with, Geoff, is that they have to play the AFC South. Like, that's just easy pickings for at least 3 of the 4 of these teams in terms of their win total.
Certainly is, but the Chiefs don't get to start their Southern experience until the second half of the season. Their first half of the season, everyone made the playoffs, but the Chargers and the Colts. So they are going to have a daunting schedule, which comes with the territory they've put themselves in. That being said, I think it's just kind of been alluded to. I think the number's low. I think the trade they made in the offseason was fantastic. Yeah. I'm worried in 5 years we're still having this conversation and we pinpoint that trade as an ability to sort of reset and begin 2.0 Mahomes Reed era of dominance in Minnesota. They have scheme. They have Patrick Mahomes. Like over 10.5. So I'm 2 for 2 to the overs and curious how that'll continue.
Yeah, you're just going to go overs for everyone, then unders for everyone in the AFC South?
There's at least one more over coming here.
No way.
But yeah, no, I just, Tim said the offensive line. They have Mahomes and Reed. They have Patrick Mahomes and elite scheme. Like, they're going to be fine.
I could see it taking a few weeks to try to develop who's going to be the number 1 receiver, who's going to stretch the field. It seems like MVS is at a concussion protocol now, and maybe his entire role on this team is just, it's like, hey, run wind sprints down the field, please. And then maybe they can use Juju underneath. Maybe they can use Sky Moore underneath. Whatever they decide to do, I think you're right. They have an offensive line, they have Andy Reid, and they have Patrick Mahomes. That should be good enough, especially if the defense can play okay. Like, they can't have the worst defense in the league and just try to win every game 50-46. We saw Dallas try that a few years ago, and just you run out of steam eventually if you can't stop anyone. But I see their schedule a lot like the Bills' schedule. Like, they play all these tough teams, but it's not like they're going to lose all these games. They're probably not going to win all the games, but Cardinals, Chargers, Colts, Bucks, Raiders, Bills, 49ers to start the season. That's very daunting. Like, what's worst case realistically? Like, if everyone stays healthy, 3-4?
Which is what they were last year.
Worst case is that what happens last year happens, and one of these other really talented teams starts off like a bat out of hell. And that's really something outside the Jets in a couple situations were able to do to the Patriots. where they took it from them, where the Patriots could have all those shitty Septembers and we could panic, but no one in the division was going to do anything about it. It does feel like one of these teams in the division is very capable and talented enough to do something about it if the Chiefs struggle.
Yes.
And really put them in an 8-ball that last year didn't occur.
I think that's right, but I'd be again less concerned because late in the year, if the Chiefs are the ones that had to come to Denver or to Buffalo or to wherever, like, ain't nobody. The Chiefs aren't scared of going to anybody's place.
Can you imagine having a great season, like finally doing something to break through, and then you're drawing that as the Chiefs on Wild Card Weekend because one of these other Western teams were phenomenal as well?
Yeah, like the Jags take the big leap in year 2, then they have to host the Chiefs in the first round of the playoffs. That wouldn't be good.
No, it'd be rough.
In terms of betting, like I like a lot of these, but I think I would just stick to the over/under 10.5 wins at -110 at DraftKings Sportsbook because I could see another team winning the division. Like I don't think that's crazy to think, and plus 175 is a good number, but I feel like they could go 12-5 and not win this division. Don't you?
The teams are talented where if someone won 13 or 14 and someone else won 11 and 12, no one is shocked. I mean, it would be at the cost of other teams, but the ceilings for these teams can represent those types of records.
No, 100%. Like if they lose twice to the Chargers and they and the Chargers have the same record, Chargers get the tiebreak, they end up winning. Same with the Raiders. Same with the Broncos. Like I don't think that's crazy to think about. So I just like the over 10.5. That's a clean sweep. It's one of the first clean sweeps that we've had on the board, I think, of any team. Over Chiefs 10.5, which inevitably means they're going to be under because the sweeps never go well when all of us and the coin are on the same page. Raiders up next of Las Vegas. Their win total is 8.5, plus 150 to make the playoffs, plus 650 to win the division, 20-1, 40-1 conference and Super Bowl. I don't think, Geoff, it has to be like Tim said, where you have to pick 2 overs and 2 unders in this division. If you want to go over for all 4 teams, I think one of us went under on all of the teams in the NFC East at one point.
I did.
Yeah. So
I just played, yeah.
So you just play the probability you're
I'm
trying to
not expecting to go perfect. Tim is trying to like go 4-0, which is there's times that you want to do that, but if you wanted to just raise your hands and say I'm going for 4 overs, I think you could come out over 500, like just to your point.
I don't think that the Raiders are bad by any means. They're being juiced to the over. The public is betting on the 8.5, but I kind of brought this up on the show, I guess, yesterday that we filmed like 10 minutes ago. In terms of the Colts, in terms of the Bengals, just like teams that got kind of lucky. Obviously, the Raiders did not get lucky in the playoffs last year, but they really felt a lot like the Patriots that they just punched above their weight. Did they get better? Yeah. But I felt like they were like 3.5, 4 wins better than they had any deserving right to be a year ago. Although all of the off-field stuff, be it Gruden, Henry Ruggs, it all just cast this negative shadow. They came out on the other side, and they played really well. But I just think these other 3 teams are just way better than them. Like, I don't think they're going to go 0-6 in the division, but I think it's more on the table for them than it is for any of the other teams, Geoff.
I agree with you. The Raiders are my weakest link here. I observe the offseason and a lot of people's preview shows, and people are like in love with the Raiders, Pat. They're in love with their number to win their division. They think that the Raiders are a nose hair from should even be better than the Broncos or the Chargers from a betting line. The fact that you get some 6-7 to 1s on the Raiders, the amount of action on the Raiders is quite substantial. But again, I agree with you. I think they overachieved last year. I think the smarter guys, I heard, congrats to you. I see you're doing a show on Fridays with Noonan and Connor over at 4 for 4, and I enjoy listening to their content and hearing them break down the Raiders. They mentioned the historical difficulty of doing what the Raiders did as so much winning, how good they were in those 1-score games.
They won
small under.
They won 4 overtime games. Remember how badly, Tim, they played on Thanksgiving and they won that game?
Yeah, no, look, there's a lot of things broke right for them, but they added a lot of talent. and they got rid of distractions. So does that balance out? I don't know. I like the Rover. I think they're going to have a winning record. Are they going to win enough games to make the playoffs? Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe they go 9-8, but that gets me to the over. I think they're top tier talent. Obviously, they have the worst quarterback. Let's concede that.
Yeah, but they have the worst quarterback. They also have the best. But they
also have the best skill position player. So, of the 4 teams in the division, I'll take Adams over anybody skill position player. Give me Adams first.
You would take Adams over Kelsey?
In that division, yes, Kelsey would be second. But I will take Adams first.
And I don't want to make it seem like we're besmirching Derek Carr here. Derek Carr's good.
I'm not.
He's probably probably the 15th where we did the quarterback rankings. Go check those out in the archives. I think he came in at number 13 in the NFL. It just happened to be way behind the other 3 in this division.
Yeah, it's a shame. I like this Raiders team. I am cheering for this Raiders team. I like to see football is good when the Raiders do well. Like I like to see Oakland succeed, but they
don't play in Oakland anymore.
Tough.
So that's going to be tough for them to succeed.
Whatever, Vegas, whatever. Anyway, it's tough to pick them to win a bunch of games when they're in a stacked division with a playoff teams type of schedule. So I don't want to give over inflated hopes, although I think McDaniel's going to be an excellent coach. I'm hopeful for him too. Obviously, I love Crosby. I love Renfro. I love Waller. I like a lot, but the Raiders don't have any depth. Like if people start getting hurt, the Raiders are going to start falling very quickly. I mean, if you pick the over as I do, you're banking on health. I'm going to choose to do that. I will take the over ever so slightly. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. I think they win 9 games, lose 8.
Yeah, Chandler Jones, Max Crosby, that's a problem. If you don't got bookends to try to push them, they're going to create issues. They are going to make me hold my breath. There's going to be a play or two. I'm like, Justin, please get up because that looked really bad. Waller's still hurt. And I don't know that that's being talked about even in fantasy circles. There's still some questions there about his week 1 availability, or early season availability, I guess I should say. They're just my under here. I'm going with 3 overs, but someone's got to get the short end of the stick. I feel like as we are completing the 3rd team in this division, I have been incredibly gracious to all the teams. Last year, I was just annoyingly confident, and I got humbled. And the Raiders played a significant role in that. And I don't really have a bad word to say other than I do believe in my heart they overachieved last year. You bring in that talent. I still think that water finds its level and they're not the other 3 teams. And as I already stated, the amount of action on them, I don't understand, but people could just tell me that's my bias at work.
Maybe they have the same thing as the Las Vegas Golden Knights did for their first few years, that whenever teams come to Vegas, they get too fucked up to play, and then easy pickings for the Raiders.
I would almost argue it a little differently. In my experience in observing the early Vegas situation is what was a home field advantage. I mean, the Chargers went from no home field advantage to maybe a slightly worse home field advantage because people are interested in actually heading to that stadium just to see it. The Raiders went from a really strong home field advantage to completely negative. They get invaded. They play about 22 teams in the league. They get invaded. Then there's about 6 teams that don't really do much. And then there's the 3 teams they'll play where their home crowd can dominate. I mean, that's just the state of it. And I'll be interested to see if that changes this year. But I don't know. I guess I should know their schedule. But yeah, so I don't know. They've lost that. Raiders under.
Just looking at it right now, I guess the first few weeks is going to be the case for a lot of teams, although we said that the Chiefs could start out poorly, end up doing really well. Like, there's a case to be made that the Raiders start 0-5. And that's tough scene for them. Like, they just have some of them are coin flip games. Other games, maybe they're probably not a favorite at the Chargers, I would guess. They're probably a favorite at home against the Cardinals, but that's Well, that's a losable game. They're at the Titans. They could win that. It's a losable game. And then they're at home against the Broncos. That's a losable game. Even though they were good last year, they got absolutely curb stomped by the Chiefs in both games last year. So I would expect them to lose at the Chiefs in Week 5. But like, that's a lot of dicey games to start the season for the Raiders.
That is true. But if I could play the other side, which might surprise people for one moment after what I've already said and the team that I'm obsessed with, if they do win that Week 1 game versus the Chargers, which we all agree, even myself, it's very possible. The spread indicates it's more than possible. Then there's like a total flip-flop on the line, maybe, right? Then they'll instantly join Denver and the Chargers in that odd to win the division. So if you do think they're going to win Week 1, you're going to make, like, they're going to go from 7-1 to tied with the Chargers in division odds. Chargers lose Week 1. I'm going to make the mistake of betting on the Chargers like season after that loss, which is crazy because they're going to lose Week 1. They're about to play the Chiefs and I'm going to reinvest in them. That might be real stupid, Fienberg.
At least wait for them to lose Week 2 to the Chiefs, then bet them if you're going to spend the money anyway.
Yeah, because then the Chargers have a crazy, silly, easy schedule after their first 2 games.
That is true, and we can get to it.
Well, under, over is where we're going. The coin is just picking. The coin is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of 11 overs in the AFC so far for the coin. Maybe this coin,
it's talented.
Maybe this coin doesn't watch the games or even cares about how math ends up working out. Who knows? Chargers up next. 10 is the win total. Minus 200 to make the playoffs, which is, they haven't done it in a bit. Win the division, plus 220. To win the conference, plus 750. 14-1 to win the Super Bowl. I'm going under, Tim, on the Chargers. I think they're right around here. Push seems super likely to me with 10 wins, but you don't like this team.
Well, I'm with you. I don't like in the sense that I don't think they're like one of the 3 best teams in football. I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender, and I think that they are being overrated. That's not to say I think it's a terrible team, because it isn't, because they have a ton of talent. But they are the trendiest of trendy teams this year, and we have said on this show year after year after year that we don't want to be side by side with the trendiest of trendy teams. So that's part of it. They're in the hardest division I can remember in a very long time. This team is also got just loser DNA in them that they can't shake. And that's a thing. I mean, and that's not against the team. It's just when the chips are down, they do stupid things. They make stupid mistakes. They're prone to, and now I don't have to rehearse 100 million things to Geoff knows as well as anybody else, that they have that, like you said about the Vikings being the NFC Chargers. They have that loser DNA that until they overcome it, it's theirs until they break that curse. And the Chiefs, by the way, were the exact same way until they broke that curse, and then they were fine. So you have to do it to actually do it, sort of thing. They have a I do expect them to start 0-2, but then I do expect them to win a bunch of games. This team is going to be right around that 10-ish number. I'm going to play the under slightly. I think it's also a 9-win team. Could they go win 11 games? Sure. But also, like, this team just gets hurt at a crazy clip, and I don't trust their health staff to get people back and ready to roll when they're healthy. A lot of this season hinges on players I don't trust to stay healthy. If they do and everything works out perfectly, and maybe that's the way it has to for the Chargers to do well, is everything, the coin has to keep flipping on heads for them to break through. I mean, I'm not cheering against them. I hope they do well, Geoff, but I think they're the trendy team, and I think if this team weren't the Chargers but were anybody else, you'd be right with us, wagging a finger and saying, yeah, I don't think so. I want to be on the other side of this public darling. So we're going to play the under on the Chargers too.
Coin's going under. I'm going under. Tim is going under. It does seem, and I kind of agree with Tim on this one, Geoff, that if you just punched their player stats into Madden and simulated the seasons, they'd win a whole bunch of Super Bowls. But unfortunately, they have to play the games on the field.
We got to play the games. It's time to flip. It's time to flip it. We got Justin Herbert. Your eyes aren't lying. Like, everything is hard. Everything is up against them in many ways. They've also got one of these unicorns. Their eyes tell you they've got one of these unicorns. Their eyes tell you that, 3rd and long, I don't know, we're just ready to go for it. Doesn't feel like it does with other teams. We're in that small pocket of teams. They did everything they possibly could for the defense, which was atrocious last year. Points per game, an abomination. Rushing defense, an abomination. Third down defense, dickless. Couldn't get off the field. You wonder why Staley had to lose his mind? Because they couldn't get off the field. Their punter, second worst punting unit in the NFL last year. They hope that's fixed. Bad news for Buffalo. I don't want to get into the whole punt god situation, but I see they brought Ty Long in for a workout. If you're going to go from punt god to Ty Long, you just lost 40 yards. Anyhow, all that's got to change. They brought so much into the defense that if you saw today's cuts, you'd be confused. You'd be confused. Chargers can't release Christian Covington. They don't have players on their defensive line. We do now. So much attention was made to Khalil Mack and J.C. Jackson. By the way, the Jackson injury situation, it's as good news can possibly be. It's literally just waiting for an incision to heal, and he's back out there. Seems like it's almost 50-50. Could play week 1, probably going to play week 2. Now, if Waller doesn't play week 1, maybe that's almost a fair trade-off, but I'd like him there for Devontae Adams. But Mack, Jackson, Sebastian Joseph Day, Austin Johnson, Morgan Fox, Bryce Callahan. Oh, man, I don't know. They don't need, just like what you said, the defense doesn't have to be amazing. It's just got to stay healthy, get into the middle half. I don't know. I should maybe be more bravos, but the team is really good. Like, they're stacked, and it's finally just I don't know. I can only hope that the time to steal from John Cena it's now. Like 7-8 players in the top 100 on the NFL list, 7 in the top 60. You said it, Pat. It feels like maybe it's a Madden team, but hopefully they can bring it to the field. And I do believe with a better defense and a trust in the defense that the supreme craziness of Staley will be reined in a little bit. He'll be more inclined to say punt, Derwin, Joey, Crew, let's get that football back.
Is their special teams actually better, though, Geoff? Because, like, if their special teams continues to be what it is, they can't make the playoffs because they can't win games.
It is supposed to be better.
But year after year after year, it's the most embarrassing unit.
Yeah, I don't know. Luckily, the Packers existed last year. So
yes,
it was
that's
just
about
the
it.
Second most embarrassing unit.
Like,
I'm
I have visions of week
that.
1. I have visions of week 1 in the second quarter of them getting a punt blocked for a touchdown.
Oh my
and, like,
God!
You know, Max Crosby coming across the line and
Tim.
blocking a punt for a touchdown. And
Tim.
like, well, this is over.
We gave up 2 kick returns in the second preseason game to Dallas to the same player. Like,
so it doesn't sound like it's fixed to me, is what I'm saying. I'm very concerned. It's not like you're benching your best special teamers in the preseason.
No, but the depth has
concern.
allowed some of the guys that used to be starters that are now there is depth on this team. There's depth on this team. It is undeniable that there's a layer of depth here that exists that did not exist before.
I hope so. Because I am the person on this show week after week who pounds the table saying special teams matters because
it does, of course,
especially when it's bad, it's really bad. That and I mean the Mac signing, I didn't like that. That's like when I used to draft Matt Holliday year after year for my baseball team. I don't expect much out of Khalil Mack anymore. But yeah, they had some other guys.
And anything you want to bet, anything you want to bet, you made a $200 bet with Pat. I need a $200 bet on a Mike Williams stat line. Like, give me the over.
Mike Williams.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to think.
And I'm not even a Mike Williams, like, I don't know, there were plays where, you know, the guy needs his own personal trainer at times. Like, they got to hire a guy just for Mike Williams.
I wish I could have seen your face when the second kickoff went back for a touchdown. The exasperation that must have been.
It was a preseason.
There was that nagging feeling. It's like, oh my God.
And it was one of these guys from Dallas who's like just from one of these other leagues.
Of course it was.
Like the US, one of the more recent spring leagues, like some undrafted USFL guys housing 2 kicks.
Like, oh my God. I sort of like, I can't even look. It's like a foreshadowing of things. Like you just try to say, I hope that's the preseason, but like I know how it's like when you've got whatever team you cheer for does. Like Zach's first throw of the preseason before he got hurt was a terrible interception. It's one of those things where you're like, it's the preseason, but at the same time, you just clasp your head in your hands and think, oh my God, really? Oh my God.
Yeah, so that's a negative. Another big negative, but maybe the end of that Tim is fully off, guys. They can't establish a second running back. Spiller is hurt. Josh Kelly's having a really nice camp. Complimentary running back to me is so crucial to the success of the Chargers. They can never seem to establish a complimentary running back to Austin Eckler. One day that's going to backfire so hard when Eckler doesn't get up or he's not going to be back in a week or two. And the fact that they try hard, they invest draft picks into it, and they still can't do it might end up, being real frustrating. I could do the segment on why we'll suck. Like, I can do it. I'm self-aware enough to do it.
Are you just doing what Tim did with the Jets? You're just going to pick every outcome and just be like, I was right.
No, I don't want to do. I think the floor is actually pretty high with the Chargers, and the ceiling is through the freaking roof. If they can stay healthy, if they can play defense, man, we're coming for you. Man, I'm spreading them.
What?
Like, I'm coming for it. Like, I'm expecting a lot. I'm going to be real sore this season.
We may have to blur
because Tim will know when your expectations.
This is a family show, Jeffrey.
When your expectations are high, that's when the fall is the hardest. So
that's what I mean. That blocked punt would just be enough to go get that McCain cake out, get that Tito's out, and
the splat
on
the
Tuesday.
concrete. Yeah, there's something to do, and there could be a splat on the concrete in week 1. The Raiders, a revenge game. I need that right now. I need it right now. Like, my skin is crawling. No, like, I'm jumping out of it. I am so fired up.
What was the yardage stat line that you wanted to put on Mike Williams that Tim could bet over under on?
I don't know. Is there like some projection that's fair? But keep in mind, Tim says he sucks. So I need to knock it down to a level of like, this guy isn't very good. I don't know what the thing is.
Well, let's say
we can spend the week talking about it, and then next week's week 1 show.
Yeah, I'll bet you.
We can come up with a stat line that's reasonable for Mike. I'm going to Canton Williams.
I don't know. I don't even love Mike Williams. It is your like constant.
Well, look, I berated the Chargers last show that we talked about them, and then Derwin signed literally that afternoon or the next day.
Yeah, and when you bashed us right before free agency, we had one of the most active free agency periods in my life.
I'm just saying, it seems like people have awarded the Chargers the Lombardi Trophy when they've made the playoffs once in the last decade.
No one's awarding them anything, but they are.
Oh, please!
It is flatter. Listen, you see a guy as highly respected as a Warren Sharp telling you the Chargers are his pick to go to the Super Bowl. You don't think I'm going to feel a little tingle? Of course I am. Of course. The funny thing is I bet the Chargers before last year's Super Bowl 25-1 to win this year's Super Bowl. And I will be like, the Broncos are going to get Rodgers. And I'm like, if the Broncos get Rodgers, I'll bet it again at a bigger number. Well, the Broncos got Russell, and somehow my line went to Fort fucking Teen. So I'm also self-aware enough to know that's insane. So maybe to Tim's point, yeah, they're like the futures on the Chargers do feel unbettable. 14-1 is an insane ask for what they have done. Herbert to win MVP 10-1, I think would be the bet though. That would be the bet.
Tim, how many receiving yards do you think Mike Williams had last year?
I have no idea.
You just have to guess. I'm asking you a question.
I don't know, 970.
No, he had 1,146.
Great.
Okay.
That's good. That in 2004, that'd have been a really good stat line.
For a wide receiver 2 on a team?
For a top tier, oh my God, we're going to pay him more money than God wide receiver.
No, it's the market now, man. It's just the market.
Okay.
Didn't he get paid as
It's
much
not
as
more money than
Didn't he get paid as much as Christian Kirk?
Well, that's a fair point, but that's because that franchise doesn't know what it's doing.
Didn't he get paid less than Corey Davis?
I don't know. Corey Davis is also, skilled. A top 4 pick in the draft or something.
there are a lot of people inside Charger world, and I've seen this a lot in the fantasy space, that have I'll feel really stupid if I do draft Mike Williams ahead of Keenan Allen and Keenan has his standards. Well, I don't know. That's its own thing. And I'm in my head with Chargers and maybe drafting them in fantasy. But a lot of people think there's going to be like a passing here this season between those two and a Chargers depth chart per se. So we'll see.
All right. So under for me, under for the coin, under for Tim, and under for you, Geoff?
No, over for me. And
Oh.
I also just on the way out want to add that so much is being made of like how Tua gets to improve this year because it's his third year. Well, guess what? Justin Herbert's going to improve also. Justin Herbert is going to play in an offense with the same offensive coordinator for the first time since high school. He's so much more comfortable. He is going to become the system. Okay? Also, I saw Matthew Berry chumming it up with some Australian dude who's apparently an odds maker at one of the somewhere. Not DraftKings, so they suck. But he was saying that on his model, I was watching a Matthew Berry conversation with this guy, Justin Herbert, despite the insane statistics last year, his modeling showed Justin Herbert to be the most unlucky quarterback in football.
Now, did you hold on? I have a question for you. Because it's starting to sound like Tim syndrome a little bit. How did you end up on that video? Let me ask you. Were you just checking out Matthew Berry?
Chargers.
Were you checking out Matthew Berry, or were you checking out this guy who you've never heard of from Australia? Or was it like, here's how Justin Herbert gets better, the video, and that's what you watched?
No, as I said, I like to watch a lot of the national content. And I was really annoyed with Eisen and Dan Pat. They weren't, I don't know, they were talking about Serena or other things. So I went searching.
Are you, so you're saying that Serena is less of a story than the Chargers right now before the season starts?
No, I'm saying I'm interested in what I'm interested. That things I wanted to hear more about football. So then I went into that account and I was scrolling through a bunch of Matt Berry videos, and it said an AFC West fantasy football preview. That's how I got there. And I heard a few conversations, but he mentioned that Justin Herbert on his model was the most unlucky quarterback in football last year with the amount of drops and how the interceptions were, I guess, not his fault. That's like a baseball thing. You hit the ball hard, but right at someone, they like credit you for it or something. I'm not really sure. But to have that stat line and be unlucky, unicorn, like we're in not an ideal spot. Division's hard, but I think it can all happen. In closing, if it doesn't happen,
fire him.
If my mom was in charge, plank, walk, done. You cannot waste year 2 and 3. I can love you, but I'll make you walk that fucking plank if you blow this thing.
I'm just looking at the schedule right now. Circle, Tim, on your calendar, because I know you have a physical calendar in front of you. December the 11th, when the Chargers season takes a nosedive, when Tua goes into LA and the Dolphins somehow beat them in the weirdest game possible.
I don't like having to play the Dolphins are going to be a bad match for everybody, just the way they play. I don't look forward. When you're scheming week in, week out for AFC West quarterback play, and then you got to play them, that's like you're playing in the SEC, and then you got to play Army with Waddle and Tyreek.
And Teddy Bridgewater under center, probably.
Listen, we didn't mention that with the Dolphins. Teddy Bridgewater movie goes one way. He ends up playing.
Yes.
Like, that's a tried, tested, and true Teddy Bridgewater career thing.
That's it. That's the one way that Dolphins one goes over. If they switch to Teddy after like week 4, they got a chance. That team,
Somehow Teddy's there, he plays, but we'll see how that works out.
good. He's good. And everybody knows it.
Feel like Teddy hasn't been good in like 3 years. He was bad last year, like really bad. And he was bad. He was also really bad. He was bad for Denver. He was really bad for Carolina. Like, what are we talking about here?
It's still much better than whatever else Miami has on offer at quarterback.
I'm telling you, man, this Dolphins over, Geoff. Although it might not look sexy. Just start pounding it right now. Anyway, that brings us to the midway point of the show, which means it's the last of the 4 Cust Corner Minis.
Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. He's got the hottest takes with the highest stakes. He should be president of the United States, but it's Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. Cust Corner,
Well, this one is mini. I was at a party a couple of weeks ago, and somebody had out on the table something I have not seen in forever, which was chip dip. And it occurred to me, where did chip dip go? Why don't people use dip anymore for their chips? Is it that like everybody has to eat these newfangled hipster flavors?
Give me some hipster flavors that people eat.
Oh, like you go to the grocery store now and there's like cheesy garlic bread and there is like various like international dishes that potato chips are flavored like, and there's like fries and gravy. It's like one of them was like a tandoori chicken, like which may be perfectly delicious, but I don't want that as a potato chip. Or like, you know, anyone who goes to a grocery store knows if you look down the potato chip aisle, there's all kinds of like unusual. Doesn't mean they're bad. They're just unusual flavors that you wouldn't anticipate. And like and so I was at this place and they had the dip for the chips with plain chips, and I was like, this is so much better than flavored chips. This is amazing. What has happened to chip dip? And I went looking the other day for it. There's only like 2 or 3 kinds in the store. And I was like, when I was young, there was all kinds of chip dip, and it was great. Whatever happened to dipping chips in dip? It was such a great thing. It seems like it's a lost culinary art. And I'm here to say it's time for it to be reclaimed.
Paul would like to, I was saying COVID.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, well, COVID happened, and people are not going to like chew on chips and then dip it into a bowl shared with other people. Like that's what's happened.
You don't put your face in
like. Would you say did COVID kill like the bar peanuts?
I don't know about that. I haven't been to enough bars that have peanuts since, like the communal peanuts, but I don't know. I guess the take I will have on the chip dip is that I assume you're talking about like the Ruffles white chip dip, right? Like the onion dip?
That one is the best. But it is not even that. I looked in the cold aisle where, you know, you find the yogurt and the sour cream.
No, but when you went for the chips.
Yeah, it was, I'm pretty sure, in a Ruffles jar. But the other day I picked up some the cold stuff, the Philadelphia style stuff. Delicious, fantastic, amazing. I was like, why? Whatever happened to chip dip? Why isn't it like a thing? Like even if you're on your own, like why not have the chip dip? It's so much better than flavored chips. It's so much better. What happened?
Well, that's not necessarily the case. One, listen, I like the chip dip as well, but I'm not 21 anymore, and I can afford better stuff. I think that's what has happened here.
But it's so good.
Yeah, it's real low, Geoff. The Ruffles chip dip, and it's just like when you buy the Tostitos cheese to dip your like regular Tostitos in. Like people can like shred their own cheese at home. It just.
But what about the good dips? The ones you find in the dairy section.
Hell of a good is actually the best dip.
That's
Hell of a good are excellent. There was also Hell of a good. That's the other one that was at the party. I loved it. It was a onion one.
But isn't like hummus has been like a thing that's still
hummus? You have to think about the prevalence of guacamole now over chip dip for a lot of this stuff. The high-end salsas that you can buy and put out as a dip for a table, or even just put it on some of those chips. But like realistically, the only chip that you're dipping is going to be like the regular chip. And frankly, Ruffles regular chips are really the only ones that you want to go to because they have the sort of thickness that can actually withstand dipping it into something without breaking. Can you actually like dip Lay's chips? I don't feel like that would ever work.
The Old Dutch rippled ones.
Yeah, but the old Dutch aren't big enough is the problem. Like Ripples, like you get a big bag of regular or regular, as it should be called, Ruffles chips. Like they're big. Like they can support some solid dip on them.
100%.
But that's it. But just think about, you talk about like the new fancy flavors. What about just regular flavors that have been around for ages? Like, I would like to know the breakdown. Unless you're having a party with like children, are people even getting regular chips anymore? Are they getting like Doritos, or are they getting barbecue chips? In Canada, all dressed chips, ketchup chips, all like those flavors have been around for like 50 years at this point. Like, people are accustomed to those. That regular chips just aren't around, and those are the only ones you can dip.
What do you think, Geoff?
I don't. I guess my question to you, Tim, is: are you turned off by chip flavors as you are, like, when things that aren't supposed to have flavors go with extra flavors?
Not as much, because there's always been like a somewhat variety of chip flavors, and I got no problem with people playing around with flavors. Like, I was annoyed last year when like Lay's made an all dressed, but they were just using the all dressed seasoning from Ruffles and throwing that on the Lay's. That seems stupid.
Yeah, I bought some of those bags
they weren't
that
good.
were like
they weren't good.
It was like a combo of barbecue and their sweet chili heat Dorito, but I ended up couldn't taste either of them.
Yeah,
and then
it was like do it.
It was Cheetos and ketchup chips, and they just didn't taste like anything.
And some of like the international flavors, I've had them and think they're pretty good, but never got them again. Just that they're not my usual go-tos. And neither were, I like plain chips. They never have been my go-to either, but at this party, it was like I was reintroduced, you might say, to plain chips and chip dip. And I was like, you know what? This is where it's at right here.
I feel like that's if you hook up with an ex one weekend and you're just like, oh, well, what could have been, and then you try to get back with them, and it's just like, oh god, I remember why we broke up in the first place. Chip dip, I could sit there, and that's also the part of it too. Like, if you like a chip, two chips, that's fine. You have like 20, 30 chips with the chip dip, you start feeling really bad. Not even just about yourself, because you will do that too, but like physically, you will feel bad just because at this age, your body's just not used to consuming that kind of stuff.
Yeah, don't be buying that and storing it at home.
Yeah,
like
go
that's
bad
something
real
you
quickly.
have at a party, but like do not get in the habit of having like a jar of Hell of a Good and a bag of Ruffles chips every week. That's worse than fish and chips.
How many? I would say so. How much do you think a jar of Ruffles chip dip has for calories, Tim?
A jar? It takes a while to get through a jar.
Oh, you could eat one of those jars in a sitting. I guarantee you.
No, because you wouldn't have enough. You'd have to eat like an entire bag of chips. Even then, I don't think you'd get through a whole jar.
You don't think that you could eat an entire bag of chips in one sitting? Really?
Oh, I'm not saying that I could. I'm not saying I couldn't do that. I'm saying that I don't know that a whole bag would take care of a jar of chip dip.
If you really loaded it up.
I guess. You don't want too much. It's all about proportion and ratio. I don't know. A jar probably has like 400 calories in it.
Huh.
How big is it? All I'm seeing is just for 2 tablespoons of it, it has 60 calories. How many tablespoons do we think are in a jar of Ruffles?
Yeah, probably like 50.
How many grams?
50?
How many grams is 2 tablespoons?
33.
33. I would say that's probably. I bet you it's like 500 grams.
500 grams?
In an entire jar? That would be my guess.
Well, that would make it 1,000 or 900 calories. It feels like it should be more than that, though.
Sounds about right.
A lot of fat.
Yeah, sounds.
But you're eating it with a bag of chips that also has 1,000 calories.
Well, there's that too, right? But I'm saying for people who are, football season is about to be amongst us, and maybe for week 1 you get together with a bunch of friends and watch the games. You're watching that Thursday night game. You're like, what do I want to bring to the football watching party?
No. You don't bring that shit over here.
You show up with a bag of chips and chip dip.
How often did you bring over chips last year that got eaten? Just like when you brought over that fucking Halloween candy that no one ate that rotted at my house.
And not many. But I'll tell you what, you bring that bag of Ruffles original chips and you bring a dip, and some people at that party will thank you. They're like, you know what? This was really good. Thanks. It's like, I haven't done this in a while, and I forgot how awesome this is. And, this is a lost art form. And most people will be appreciative of your efforts. And I'm telling you, chip dip shouldn't have gone away. Don't know why it's gone away. Like to see it resuscitated.
times, what did I say it was? 90 or 60? 60? Yeah, it's got like 800 calories in it per jar.
If one person ate an entire jar to him or herself, sure, but that doesn't happen as a rule.
I feel like it's going to be the same people who are just right around that because you get the one in you, and then it just keeps going. I'm telling you.
Well, this is it, right? That it's hard. I mean, but you'll run out of chips before you run out of dip if you're smart.
That means you've eaten a lot of chips.
Yeah, if you just like have a cereal bowl of them,
When was the last time you had a cereal bowl of chips?
Yesterday.
Really?
Yes.
No one's believing that for a second.
Okay, well that's just true. I had a cereal bowl of Ruffles chips and some dip. So I saw it at the store. And I was like, oh yeah, it was delicious.
Oh yeah, you went to the store yesterday and you bought a bag of chips and the Ruffles stuff after you went to this party. And all you did, you had just a cereal bowl. How big was this? What are you eating cereal out of? Like one of those giant silver bowls?
No, the cereal bowls that you bought me.
I don't
go with the dishes.
don't believe this. Not for a second.
I poured the chips into a cereal bowl, and I brought them over here to my table, and I brought the dip with me, and I thoroughly enjoyed them while I listened to my podcasts.
And how many times did you go back and refill those?
No, just the one time. Just the one time. Because after
only
that
one
bowl,
refill?
Like, no refills. After you had that thing, you're like, you know what? You're like, that's enough for now. Like, you're feeling it. Like, it was delicious, but at the same time, no one doesn't want to overdo it.
Okay, so today, like when you do your laundry and you feel like you've earned a reward, you can have some chips and dip.
100%. That's why I got those chips and dip to reward. I had a lot of laundry to do when I got back from this trip. I knew I didn't want to do it.
Geoff, do you believe him that he only had one bowl?
It's true. I only had one bowl. My hand to God, that's all I had.
I
Jeff.
mean, I don't know. He's pretty open about when he.
Yeah, I wouldn't lie about it. If I had two, I'd say I had two.
No, we know what you lie about and what you don't. This you're lying about.
I'm not. I'm really not. Am I going to have a bowl tonight? Yeah, probably. Not going to lie. That's probably going to happen after
You said
supper.
you're going to McDonald's.
I didn't say I may go to McDonald's.
Oh,
I haven't decided
Tim,
on that yet.
Breaking news. Someone just tweeted us that said, I used to work on a reality TV show where people were, quote, living entirely off the grid. And on off days, these people were at the convenience store buying Doritos and Twinkies and crap like that.
Well, I'd like to know which show that is. I'm sure that's true.
I'm sure
there are some. Look, I'm not sure some are fixed, but like Survivor and Alone, people aren't doing that. You can tell from their physicality.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like they're wasting away.
Okay.
Well, they are. Like, they are literally wasting away.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Not rigged, for sure. Yeah, definitely no producer intervention there, as we found out
Anyway,
from you.
Chip Dip, come back. We miss you.
It sounds like you're supporting the entire industry right now with your
As the first
with
time
your
I bought,
one bowl.
This is the first. It was one bowl. This is the first time I bought Chip Dip in dickety years, and I'm telling you, I am pleased with the choice. But Paul is also very right to caution. This is not a habit you want to get into. It feels like a habit that's very easy to get into and one that cannot become a habit.
I can't buy it because it would become, I would just probably eat a whole, like I don't buy chips, I don't buy dip because they just, as soon as I open a bag of chips, it's gone.
I have the clamp. I clamp them, I put them in my thing.
I have no self-control.
You think Tim does? This is why I don't.
No, I listened to all of everything he was saying. I was just like, he's just putting on some posture for the program here. Like, that's what I would do too, and claim that I don't. I actively do not buy potato chips because I can't control myself.
Oh, look, as St. Augustine said, perfect abstinence is far easier than perfect moderation. I get it. I support that, but at the same time, these chips, you can't eat too many of the chips, or you do feel bad. You feel that, and you get to your limit.
Last time we talked chips, you said that the gas station, like Exxon Esso chips, were
so
your favorite.
Good.
Were the best
So
chips
good. I don't know if they're my
Canada.
favorite, but they're so good. There's just like the Circle K brand chips are so good, so good. Oh, give them a try.
Gas station branded chips are the number one chip in the country.
I don't know if they're the number one, but they're excellent, and they're not to be looked down one's nose at. And they're to be enjoyed. If you're on your way to a football party, you got to stop to get gas or lotto tickets or cigarettes or whatever it is you're stopping for, and you're like, oh, I forgot to bring something. You grab a bag of Circle K chips and some dip, and people will be hyped that you've come. That's a tip from me to you. That is a can't miss surefire tip.
Is this why you leave me to get all the food? on Sundays?
Well, I have offered to bring stuff in the past and have been told no.
Yeah. Not just by me either.
Why?
I'm already looking forward to where we're going to order from next Sunday.
Oh, we're not. We're just going to show up and no food.
That can't happen.
Why not?
Well, if we're going to be there for the long haul all the way through the second set of games, we got to eat.
Yeah, that's why you said abstinence is easier. No food.
Oh, it is.
No food.
Abstinence is easier than moderation.
No food.
Well, then I will be very hangry when we do our show.
Excellent. It's good.
And hopped up on an empty stomach and 12 DCs on an empty stomach.
Oh, no DCs either. They're illegal at the office now.
That is not true.
No, it is. That's your big sign on the door. I saw it today.
Yeah, but I'm grandfathered in.
Hold on. We got to get for the week one show. We got to figure out this Mike Williams bet because
we will when we're due the week
internet
one show.
Told us we're gonna have cash, but it's also gonna be for a shoey, and you're gonna have to chug a Diet Pepsi out of a shoe.
I will do that.
What about Diet Crystal Pepsi? I already bought it.
Oh, I know. You gave it to me. It's in my fridge. I'm not gonna drink that.
We got to save it for the shoey.
God.
All right, let's get out of here by going to the AFC South. Indy.
Le Sud.
Indy. 10 wins, minus 190 to make the playoffs, minus 130 to win the division, 12 to 1 to win the conference, 25 to 1 to win the Super Bowl. I mean, they're all right. They'll probably win the division. I'll go under 10 wins. I just don't think that Matt Ryan's that big of an upgrade.
Under 10 wins. I don't think they win the division. They're no better than they were last season. As you said, the metrics showed they kind of got lucky with wins. And the Texans and Jags, while bad, are better than the terrible teams they were last year. They're still awful, but they're slightly better. And I guess the Colts did gag away to a game to the Jags already last year, as we famously remember, capable of doing more than that again. I don't trust this team. I don't like this team all that much. Under.
The defense
wouldn't be shocked if they didn't even finish second. I wouldn't be shocked if they didn't even finish second in their own division.
The defense looks pretty good, Geoff.
I do like this team. I'm going to pick the over. I do believe there's a chance they do get improved quarterback play, and I'm assuming they're going to get better quarterback play. You mentioned those Jaguar games. I don't even know what to make of them. It feels like they gave up in 2 games like 60 points to the Jaguars. In many ways, sunk their season. I like them. I have bet them, not on the win total, but spoiler, I bet the minus 110 earlier this month before it kind of steamed up a bit on the division. I think they're better than Tennessee, and I've bet that.
Okay. Moving on. Yeah, the coin is also going under. Saxonville is up next. Their win total is 6.5 plus 450 to make the playoffs, plus 750 to win the division, plus 6,500 or 65 to 1 to win the conference, plus 130 to win the Super Bowl. Coin is going over on the Jags. What about you, Tim?
I think that's a little rich. Had it been 5.5 or 4.5, I've got you there for sure. I mean, that's still a huge improvement from last season, right? I think 6.5 is a little rich. It's a little much to ask them to win 7 games. I don't quite think they've got that in them, given that they play in the AFC and they have to play. Other than the Texans, they have to play a ton of tough teams. I mean, if you think the Jets are going to be bad, sure, but that's a coin flip at best. I don't know. I think Doug Peterson is a decent coach. I've liked Doug Peterson. I think he will help stabilize that team going forward. I think he was probably a good hire. Huge question mark at quarterback. What quarterback will we see this year? Got a total pass for last year. Played poorly. We'll see how Trevor Lawrence does this year with a team that spent a lot of money at wide receiver and has a coach who is far more competent and offensively minded than the previous one. So I guess this is a real testing season for Trevor Lawrence. I don't know. I don't think he's going to play great. I don't think he's going to play badly. I think it's going to be a 5 or 6 win team. I really don't see them getting to 7. I think 7, while possible, is like their absolute ceiling. And I'm not going to bet a team that's absolute ceiling is only a half win more than what they've got. So I'm going to play the under.
I'm playing the over, Geoff. I like Jacksonville this year. I need them to patch up the defense a little bit. I think the offense is going to be pretty good. The improved offensive line is really the big thing, but ETN coming back. Year 2. A competent head coach. Whether Doug Peterson is good or bad, he ain't as bad as Urban Meyer was and everything that he brought to the team. And you talk about like the Herbert third-year leap, we can see something from Lawrence this year. Maybe he is the absolute gutter. But I don't believe that. When you see what you saw from Zach Wilson and what you saw on tape, you saw some stuff from Trevor Lawrence last year, just these throws like, oh my God. It's like, I can't believe he's even attempting that, let alone completing those passes. And now he actually has time to make them. I like that a lot. I think this division is weak. That is one of the bigger difference between his potential ascension. I don't like that they play the West. It's funny because I didn't bet the win total of 6.5. I actually just bet them to win the division at plus 750, and I am picking them to win the division at plus 750. So big on the Jags, Geoff.
I like a lot of what you said. I agree with pretty much all of it. But in the end, other than the ceiling aspect, because in the end, my vision for what is best case scenario for them does feel like 7, 8 if things go really well. They win 8 games. We're going to be doing such an applaud for Doug Peterson, and it'll probably be deserved. Yeah, I don't know. I did take the Jets at over 5.5, and I'd have. What's silly is I guess if the Jags were 5.5, I'd take them too, but they're not. They're 6.5. And like Tim, I don't want to pick when I think the only out is pretty much what I deem the ceiling to be. And I guess, for all the trend away from the trendy teams, they're not nearly as trendy as the Lions. But I guess you could say, as we've done these shows now, I am fading the Lions and the Jags. And I don't think I'm going to be wrong on both of them, I promise.
So you're going under on the 6.5?
Yeah.
Just Tim had brought up, and I know he wants this to be the case, that the Jets could be this year's Bengals. I could see the Jags being this year's Bengals because I think their path to the playoffs is just so much easier. That if they can win this, like let's say they go 8-9, and this is where I win the AFC playoff bet against Tim too. The Jags go 8-9 and win this division.
Yeah, I'm not really ready to see that. Like I do not see that. My question for Tim would be, based on previous conversations, how many more years till Lawrence is in the CFL again?
Well, another couple of years like that, I guess. The thing is, he'll always get someone will give him a second contract. I'm not obsessed with Trevor Lawrence. We'll see. He's got a lot to prove this year. This is a big year for him. There needs to be steps forward. Maybe, and I'm not saying he can't make them, but I'll be watching with a critical eye.
For content show purposes, fantastic football out of Miami and Jacksonville would make your Sunday nights and our Tuesday afternoons fantastic. And your Sunday afternoons.
I'll just be on camera ripping a piece of paper up over and over and over again in little pieces so I talk about games.
Tennessee. Apparently, Malik Willis is actually going to be their backup, so he's earned the number 2 position at pivot. How long do you think we see him under center? Until we see him under center. There was the talk of like Pickett takes over for Trubisky. I think that we're going to see Willis under center by week 9. Geoff?
Okay, well, here's the problem, Pat. I want to agree with you, and part of me does see big regression for the Titans. I'm going to the under. I think they got worse on the O-line. They lose A.J. Brown. I'm just not buying that what's worked there is going to keep working, and I guess you could just sum that up as Tannehill. That being said, in a conversation with a friend of mine who is hardcore Les Titans, sort of sees this as Malik now has 390 days from when we had our conversation to be ready to be next year's quarterback.
Well, if that's if that's the case and he's next year's quarterback, the under hits.
Okay, yes, but again,
the same logic would have been the case for San Francisco last year.
The point I guess I'm trying to make, Pat, is it can't work both ways. If the Jaguars, if winning this division at 8 or 9 games is in play, then that means the games will be meaningful for a really long time. Like, how bad will Tennessee have to be for the games to stop counting for them where that they would make that switch? But if the Jags and the division is as bad as a scenario you envisioned, that means they're still fighting. Even if they're bad, they're still contending, which makes me believe they would not make that QB switch. But I'd love to see it. Football fan in me, love to see it. NFL GMs again. At this moment, I know he's only played preseason, kind of feels like they overthought another really dynamic quarterback prospect who in the preseason short sample is showing he can do a lot of those ceiling things he was able to do in college. Exciting.
Well, I just want him to play for fantasy purposes, just very selfishly, because I think he would be an awesome fantasy player. Whether or not that translates to real life wins, I don't know. But I think Tim, I heard mention Trey Lance. I think the difference is that Trey Lance was the third pick in the draft, not some third rounder.
Yeah, but I mean, the logic still holds the same, that Trey Lance was brought in not to be the starter that season, but rather the next year. So, I mean, yes, but I think the analogy holds in that case. I like this Titan team a lot.
Of course, you picked them to win the Super Bowl. You should go
I have
over.
picked them to win the Super Bowl. I like this team. This is the team that was the number 1 seed in the AFC last year, who still has perhaps the best defensive backfield in having. Kevin Byard is in and of himself one of the absolute best unsung players in the NFL. Just a fantastic player. And they still have Hooker. They still have Bud Dupree. They have a really dominant, the potential to be a very dominant defense. And a quarterback who has shown the ability to not screw things up. Yes, they lost A.J. Green. That's a tough loss.
They didn't have A.J. Green.
A.J. Brown, sorry. I like Robert Woods. I like Traylon Burks, even though he's had some struggles in the preseason. I don't buy a whole lot from that. Jamar Chase had struggles in last year's preseason. I'll believe it when I see it when the games count. Their offensive line still has Taylor Lewin. It's still a good squad. And they have Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, until otherwise proven differently, continues to be just a dominating force. The Titans are very well constructed to play teams that in the AFC who would love to get into shootouts with you. The Titans will not allow you to get to those types of games. They will grind you down. They will take the air out of the ball. They're very well coached. They are frustrating to play. They are difficult to play. They're very talented. They're in the weakest division in the AFC, and I think they have the easiest path to the playoffs, which is, again, part of the plus EV reason to take the Titans to go deep, is they have the best. I think they have the best chance to get to the playoffs. I think they're much better than the Colts, and they're in a super weak division. So I like this Titans team a lot. I believe in the skill set they have, and I feel like the last 3 years they made the playoffs. They sort of overachieved the first time, underachieved the last 2 times. I feel like there's something is bubbling there. Something is boiling over. And I'm with the Titans, and I'm in Nashville for one more year. Let me see it. I think there's still something left in the tank, something big.
You are right about their path to the playoffs. I mean, it's the same case I just made for the Jags, that I think that this division has the potential to be the easiest path to get in the AFC. It just feels like, Ryan Tannehill's going to turn into a pumpkin at some point. If they can't block for him, which they should be able to do, but if someone goes down, all of a sudden they're in a whole lot of trouble. And I can see 7 wins, 8 wins, 9 wins. I mean, right around there, and their over-under's 9, so I'm going to go under. Was that an under for you, Geoff?
Yeah.
Texans are the last team to talk about. They cut Marlon Mack today. So it looks like Dameon Pierce is now the starter. He's going to be drafted in like first round of fantasy drafts, and people are going to be very disappointed when Sex Rex Burkhead is the one getting all the touchdowns. Over under 4.5 wins, 16-1 to make the playoffs, 30-1 to win the division, 130-1 to win the AFC, 250-1 to win the Super Bowl. Can they get to 5 wins? Let's look at the schedule here. Where are they at? Tennessee, there's the Texans. Do they have enough? They play this division plays the NFC East, right?
Yes.
So if
the AFC West.
So if the Commanders and Giants are bad, that could be 2 potential wins. You beat the Jags and steal 1 from the Colts or Titans. There's 4 wins. You got the Browns. The Bears are on that schedule. You have to win 1 of those if everything breaks that way. How do you feel about Davis Mills? Was Davis Mills?
Plus, they could steal any division game against the Titans or Colts. Those teams are very prone to stepping on a rake. I think last year, the Titans were the number 1 seed in the AFC. I believe the Texans beat them once.
Did they really? I don't remember that whatsoever. But really, what's the difference besides pedigree and the national media attention, the crooked national media, Geoff? What was really the difference between Davis Mills and Mac Jones?
I guess that's a fair question. I know firsthand they both beat the Chargers last year. Jesus. I really like Davis Mills, but Houston might find themselves in a situation where they are really bad. They have their draft pick. They got extra ones from the Browns, and next year's supposed to be a real deep quarterback draft. So it could be methodical in some respect what's happening there. You can't ignore like the coaching situation. Like very awkward how that all transpired this offseason. And especially like people really seem to think they really wanted to hire Josh McCown, but felt they couldn't because of the landscape that Flores may have created in and around coaching hires last cycle. As for the roster at hand, you could make the case it's the worst in the league. And I said that last year, and they're really pretty much proved me quite wrong. They were not the worst in the league. And they beat some pretty solid teams.
They were
under.
I'm taking the under as well because I feel like I can't go with the Jags over and go with the Texans under because the Texans would need some of those Jags wins in order to hit their over, and the Jags would have to beat them twice probably in order to hit their over. It doesn't necessarily have to work like that. That's just how I'm envisioning it in my head. Lovie Smith is the head coach. Ugh, I don't know about that. I don't know about that at all.
Is he their coach next year?
No, he can't be, right?
Yeah. Right.
I mean, if they win 7 games, look, Lovie Smith brings credibility.
So
He's
yeah,
won a ton of NFL games.
Yeah, he was real good in the Big Ten for Illinois.
Well, no, but that's college. That's not
he was the 2005 Coach of the Year in the NFL. We're getting on 20 years. It was like when Washington. Are they going to bring back Joe Gibb again?
Well, no, but I'm just saying, I think he brings credibility to the team. He's exactly the type of person I'd want there right now. A team with very little talent and a bunch of rookies, and a coach who's been around for a very long time who commands respect. I got no problem with Lovie Smith. That they play decently this season. I don't think he's a sacrificial lamb. I don't think he's Romeo Crennel. I think he could absolutely have the team next year if they show some green shoots under him. At least that's what I believe, anyway.
I don't. And I'm also naive enough to think there's actually a pretty solid plan potentially taking place in Houston.
Well, they got that pastor running the team, so they're going to hire someone who's just going to preach the Lord to coach the new quarterback. I don't know, but if they end
Josh McCown would have done that. He pretty hardcore.
We don't even know if Josh McCown's a good coach or not.
No, he's never coached anything. It's one of the weirder. Yeah, crazier things that would have been really interesting to see.
It just seems like Josh McCown was like buddies with the McNairs still own it? Like McNair's son runs everything now, right? That Josh McCown was probably like his pal. And he wanted him to be coach.
Very honestly, you got some of that vibes based on how that all unfolded.
The difference between them this year and last year, at least in my mind, was you called for them to be the worst team in the league last year because the talent was so bad. But the difference was the talent that they had on the roster last year, of course, was not good. But it was a whole bunch of veterans on the team. Like, they were competent NFL players. They just weren't really good NFL players. Like, their baseline, the floor that we've talked about a bunch of times, was high even if there was no ceiling. Like, they weren't going to do the absolute most moronic thing possible, just there was no real upward mobility with the team. Now it seems like they've really thinned that out a little bit, where they are relying on more rookies this season at more critical positions where they could just be abject failures. Maybe they turn out to be good, I don't know, but it's probably more likely that they're not. And if they do end up bringing in a top-end quarterback for next year, that's when I think they go for the McDaniels, or they go for the Brandon Staley type if they end up going like 3-14 to bring in like this new regime, pair up a head coach with a brand new quarterback, build that system around him, and then they're off to the races. That's how I feel that the Texans are trying to long play this. I don't know, though.
I agree. I do actually believe there is a plan there that they are trying to orchestrate. And last year was a big cluster expletive with that Deshaun stuff. And not to say you should have like a 2-year rebuild and not get very far, but I do think we're going to see a light for this team as we prospect the 2023 draft and their position in it and the picks they have. And the coach they'll hire, to your point, too.
So you're under, Tim. Are you under or over?
I am going to play under,
Right,
but not by much.
It's a round of unders. I went 3 or 4 unders in this division. I don't like this division at all. And we go from the best division to probably what's with the worst division, except for maybe the NFC East, although Philly looks like Philly's picking up a lot of steam here, Geoff, since we last talked.
I'm feeling good about that
Big
Philadelphia
time.
pick. I'm feeling good about that Philadelphia pick.
They made the trade. Dallas had the O-line injury. A lot has kind of happened since we in that, Philly Dallas breakdown.
Oh, it's all setting up for the Eagles to be one of the most popular suicide picks in week 1, and Detroit just beating them in Detroit.
I would agree with that. It's just like the
Watch
49ers
out for
in
that.
Chicago. I'm wary of that one too.
And week 2, the Russell Wilson first game at Mile High versus Houston is going to be the week 2 game.
At least that's in Denver. That's at least a home game.
I agree.
But yes, fair enough.
Someone that I'm as bad in eliminator, suicide, whatever you want to call it, as I am in one and done golf. I suck. I don't think I make it past. I don't even know if I've ever crossed Thanksgiving, let alone like the middle of October. So,
Well, as someone who has had a perfect season, I can say that it is difficult. But looking at the week 1 board, there's the Titans over the Giants would be where I'd lean right now, because I don't believe you should be taking road teams early in the year. I think that's a recipe for disaster. The board is not super amenable.
I was thinking like I guess we'll talk about this on the week 1 show. I have it narrowed down because I'm with you. I don't love taking road teams, but the Ravens or the Niners I think have to be the play.
The Niners. If I was going to take a road team, San Francisco is where I think I would go. But I just don't need to take a road team in week 1.
That one stinks. That one stinks. Like
it does.
Everyone
it
hates
really
Chicago.
does.
They pull off a nice week 1 game, but then they from that point on are as bad as everyone thinks they are. Oh man, I
don't like it.
I shouldn't be as concerned about that game as I am, but I've already talked myself into that game like stinking.
I was thinking I was thinking Broncos over Seahawks too. The Seahawks stink as well.
Yeah, that'll be the Russell game, prime time, right?
Yeah, Monday night
football.
Yeah, you hate prime, but you're right.
Again,
Pat.
it's a road team. I hate taking road teams.
Yeah, but there's no big home favorites except for the Titans. They're 5.5. Like that's a real.
I know. Well, Cincinnati is a bigger favorite.
Yeah, I don't want.
But I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
but I'm not doing that.
either. Although you think they're great.
I do, but the Steelers is a divisional game. I don't need to pick a divisional game in the first week of Survivor either.
Not to say Russell won't do everything he can there, but if Pete Carroll has one win he would die for.
I believe it.
I think it would be that week 1 game.
And that crowd, you would think if it could get up and get electric for any game, it would be that too, right?
I see. I don't think so. I think that crowd is not going to be necessarily pro Russell Wilson, but I think they're going to be positive Russell Wilson.
They're just going to be really pro Seahawk. They're going to want it in a friendly way, but they're going to want that game.
But are they going to want it? Yeah, no, I don't doubt they're going to want it.
It's Monday Night Football, et cetera, et cetera. We'll see, I guess. Although I really like the week 1 board this year for whatever reason for the spreads, I think it's a tough one for Survivor.
All right, division picks and AFC champions and Super Bowl picks is what we need to do right now. I have KC and Jacksonville as my division winners from these two. Geoff, who do you have?
I have the Chargers and I have the Colts.
Indy. And who do you have, Tim?
Chiefs and Titans.
Chiefs and Titans. My AFC official pick is going to be Denver over the Bills in the AFC, which leads me to Packers over the Broncos in the Super Bowl.
A rematch.
Geoff.
Okay, I'll go. The Chargers will beat the Buffalo Bills. The Chargers will play the Green Bay Packers and win. And what I am going to need to give a limb, because one of my biggest fears in life was making the Super Bowl and getting there versus a team like the Cowboys or the Packers and the logistical hell that will cause because of how preeminent they are. But I'm willing to deal with it. You can have my arm.
Tim?
I'm picking the Titans to defeat the Bengals in the championship game. with the Titans defeating the 49ers in the Super Bowl.
Man, that'd be a real bad Super Bowl. Titans 49ers.
But we had that game on a Thursday night last year.
Yeah, you know what? That is a very good Thursday night football game.
A team that, was the number one team in the AFC last year and the team that went to the championship.
You got like 2 run-first teams going to the Super Bowl.
I do, but I have the Bengals and Buccaneers, 2 very pass-oriented teams in the championship games with them. So.
All right, that will do it for the win total week on the Pat Mayo Experience. Coming up, we got DraftKings Strategy, myself, and Tambo. We have another fantasy update with Jake Steele, and then we're into week 1 shit. So prepare yourself. I want to thank Tim. I want to thank The Coin. I want to thank Geoff. Play in the Listeners League. Sub to the podcast. Share the show around. Help us out. And go rewatch all of the other ones as well. Smash the like, too. Thank you all for watching. I'm Pat Mayo. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience!
Wish I would eat one right now.
What sandwich are you talking about?
The new McCrispy.
The new McCrispy.
Yeah, I haven't gone in for it yet either. Neither's Geoff, but we've been chatting about it. They've been pumping it pretty hard these days on the apps and on the billboards and such.
What's the difference between that and the?
Well, like the big chicken is not crispy, right?
No,
It's not. It's battered, but it's not crispy in the way that seems like the McCrispy, I suppose, would just have more of a crunch.
No, they definitely need to like an upgraded chicken sandwich while keeping the McChicken for some level of a classics menu.
Oh yeah, to remove the McChicken would cause riots and cars to be overturned and gas tanks to be set on fire and Bastilles to be stormed. Yes, there's no removing the McChicken, but complementing it with another higher end or bougie hipster sandwich, that I can see.
I mean KFC does that, right? They've got
of course they do.
Original,
and in fact, I
and
used to
they've
tweet
got
at
extra
them.
crispy.
I used to tweet at them when they put out their new original chicken sandwich. I said, "You're not getting away the big crunch, are you?" And they said, "No, be assured, the big crunch is going nowhere." I was like, "Well, thank God."
Was the Big Crunch bigger than the original crispy? I don't
No,
know.
it's not big. It's just a different sandwich, right? It's just a different. They don't have as many doodads and stuff thrown on top of it. It's more of a classic KFC chicken sandwich. If you want to add to the sandwich, that's fine. Just don't push. Don't tell me you're gonna take it away from me because people depend on that.
Have you had Popeyes yet? There, Top Cat.
Yeah, I have. It's interesting. It's better in some ways than KFC and worse in other ways.
Explain.
I'd like to hear the explanation.
I
for
don't
that as
like
well.
that the only fries I can pick are Cajun fries.
That's fair.
I don't like that, and the coleslaw is not as good. Now the chicken is
They
meatier.
don't have like the gravy at like KFC.
And lack of gravy.
It's really
And that was the third point. There's a lack of gravy. The chicken itself, like chicken is chicken.
I
In
think
terms
the
of the
chicken's
physical
better.
meat itself, I think the chicken might be slightly better. The flavor is slightly worse, but the chicken itself is better. Like it's juicier. Just the spice combo is a little better at KFC, but it's really good chicken. But yeah, you don't have the gravy too. So like Popeyes gets a passing grade. I'm a fan of it. I think it's more suited for a sandwich than handheld chicken. If you know what I mean. I bet you their chicken sandwich is better. But yeah, the sides I got some issues with, but perfectly fine.
The fries at KFC are god awful. They're the worst fries in the biz.
Yeah, but at least they taste like French fries. The Cajun ones just don't work for me.
I mean, I don't think the fries at KFC taste like fries. They just taste like they're all just so soggy. Like it's so gross.
They used to be bad. They've gotten much better in the last few years. KFC's fries are they're not great, but they're not bad anymore. Like they're not detractors. Plus, you're covering them in gravy anyway. So what's the difference? Well, that's what people do. Like as you laugh, that's what everybody does when they eat KFC.
Everybody covers it in gravy?
I would say just about everybody covers their fries and their chicken in gravy. Yes, of course they do.
I would agree with Tim.
I don't know. All I can speak to is the Mayo family growing up when we'd get buckets, and that never happened. So,
I mean, you aren't going to KFC to be healthy.
No,
This
it
isn't
just
like
wasn't a
fish-
health.
This
it
isn't
wasn't
like fish
doing
and
with the
chips
gravy.
or anything.
It wasn't a
like
health
that.
thing. Like the whole thing was like going to KFC to get what is the 17 spices, whatever it is. Like if you put gravy,
11 classic herbs. and
if you put the
spices.
gravy on it, like you're drowning all that out.
I think you maybe
I didn't-
muted Geoff. There we go. Because he
All
was
right.
trying to pipe in, but he wasn't able
Oh,
to.
if Geoff we can't have this conversation if Geoff not have takes.
Well, I just want to say I don't know. I feel like I was in KFC last week. I was like annoyed with the line. I was listening to what people were ordering. I didn't hear anyone order gravy.
Really? That's interesting.
It typically comes with like the family packs.
Fair, which is what it's the way I'm
I don't know if
usually
people like go there and
Whoa,
order
why are
like
you
an
usually consuming it in
individual.
a family pack?
What's that?
because that's usually when I'm having it, like at a family dinner somewhere.
No, you make
I'm
it
not
seem,
usually consuming it on my own.
You make it seem like you go to KFC all the time.
Like it comes
Not
stock.
all of it.
It comes stock with the family packs, but I don't know if people are like getting an individual gravy for their 3-piece. You know,
I would, but I can see that people wouldn't.
I would if I could, but I can't, so I won't.
Yeah, fair enough. Gravy's the way to go. Their gravy is excellent.
Their gravy used to be better when you could actually like stand a metal spoon up it.
Well, yeah, back
It's
before
so
they took away
unfair.
before they took away the trans fats, which may
Yeah.
come back one day, but for the time being, they're not that great.
I'm gonna go right to dinner after this show.
Yeah,
Me too. I'm starved. I have nothing in the house to eat, so there's no cooking here.
I
Oh,
got a pot,
McCrispy for Tim.
I got a pot of
McCrispy
chili
could be what the
cooking up.
doctor ordered.
all right.
Although Paul wants me to try that new habanero Whopper, so the pesto Whopper. That's what it is.
Yeah, I feel like you need to do like on a future Cust Corner, maybe a review. Reveal your camera and let us see you eating a fast food
Or just come in and do one. Yeah,
burger.
I don't want you I don't want you getting grease all over my desk.
I know how to eat without making a mess. I'm not
the
a child.
people will love that type of content. People just want to see Tim eating.
This is it. Like I could
very,
pick something up for the
very
Sunday show.
You
generic.
could
Yeah.
honestly just do it at like your in a regular kitchen with one of you filming Tim.
Yeah,
Well, I guess we could do it live on the Sunday show.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd have time to jump down to all the various places nearby the house.
Yeah,
and
so
pick
on
up.
the way to
What's
the,
that Burger
the
King?
studio,
Right? There's
Tim
there's
picks
a
up
Burger
fast
King
food.
near here.
Yeah, it is a BK.
Oh
Not
my
low,
God.
as Geoff calls it. Not low.
It is the not low of the genre. Yeah, it is. No one even debates that.
You may even be able to get Pat to buy you said.
That's
said
true.
sandwich.
I'll write it off.
Because he could write it off as a
The
tax
business expense.
Business expense.
Tim will go ultra deluxe with his order. Like the $13 order will become like a $21 order.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
All right, let's go. We recording?
Yeah, you're starting with. You don't want to get landlocked on the Chargers, so I'm guessing you're starting with the 7.
No. We're gonna start with the West. We'll start with Denver.
Experience!